Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/IDontWorkHereLady. Our first story today consists of 3 parts, and her size is as big as her main character's inadequacy. So part 1. Door's locked, lights are out, but no, store isn't closed. So my girlfriend is temporarily relying on me for transportation from her place of employment. She works closing shift. I'm sitting outside the store after hours in the parking lot, waiting for her to emerge, chatting with a few others in the same situation. The doors are not only locked, but the lights are out in the store. Along comes Mr. Consumer, driving up, getting out of his car, and trotting up to the door. When the door fails to open, he grabs the door and tries to slide it open manually. Nope, it's locked. Mr. Consumer. Hey, why's the door locked? Me. Store's closed, mister. Mr. Consumer. No, it's not. They're always open late. I shrug, as there's not a whole lot I can say about it. Guy keeps trying to push the door open, alternating knocking on the door to try to get someone's attention. Then an idea must have soaked through his tiny mind. Mr. Consumer. Hey, can one of you guys let me in? I just need to get a few things. Guy next to me. Does it look like we work there? I'm just here to pick up my son. Me. Come back tomorrow, dude. Mr. Consumer. Oh, come on, guys. I just need cat food and something else I didn't hear. I'll be in and out in a second. Other guy. Dude, we don't work there. Mr. Consumer throws up his hands and walks back to his car. On the way back, he glares at us, and when he reaches his car, I'm coming back here tomorrow, and I'm getting all of you fired. Rude effers like you guys need to help the customer. With that, he gets in his car, grabs his phone, and spends a little time obviously fiddling with it to get our pictures. Once I realized what he was trying to do, I warned the guys I was with, and we moved into the shadows, away from the light pole we'd been chatting under. As Mr. Consumer drives away, he gives us the finger. 5 minutes later, the employees are let out, followed by the manager, who told us he had to delay letting people out until the crazy guy pounding on the windows had left. No idea if he was drunk or stoned, but he didn't seem to be slurring his words, and he was driving pretty straight. Part 2. The return of Mr. Consumer. So last night we got some rain and just waited in the cars. But tonight our little social club was back outside waiting for our passengers. I'm out there with the same guys as last time, and we're talking. It's a nice night under the lamppost. I've learned these guys' names. It's John, Paul, George, and Ringo. At least for purposes of our discussion. So as we're sitting there, who should drive up but Mr. Consumer, who shall henceforth be known as Mr. Clueless from now on, for reasons that will quickly become apparent. Mr. Clueless. Hey, I spoke to corporate and you guys have to let me into the store. Again, store's closed, lights are off, door's locked, big sign outside is off. We just look at each other, then at Mr. Clueless. George. Man, you don't get it, do you? We don't work here. Mr. Clueless. Don't lie to me. I spoke to corporate over this. You have to let me into the store. Me. Dude, the store is closed. We do not work here. We cannot let you in. Mr. Clueless. The store's open all night. It's on all your advertising. Now it hits me. Mr. Clueless has obviously mistaken this store for competitor's name, which is open 24/7 and is about a half a mile down the road. Me. Dude, this is store, not competitor store. Their sign is down the road, see? I point in the direction of competitor store. I can see their sign, like I said, a half a mile down the road, but Mr. Clueless just looks that way and says, I can't see that far. You sure this isn't competitor store? Holy carp, this man can't see 6 blocks. This man shouldn't be driving. If his eyesight is this bad, he's a menace to drivers everywhere. And as I'm realizing this, I hear John, Paul, and Ringo realize it too. John, you mean to tell me you can't see half a mile? Paul, dude, you need to get glasses. Ringo, dude, stay off the streets until you get glasses. Mr. Clueless, I don't like wearing my glasses. You guys gonna let me in or do I have to call corporate and report you again? Really? George, man, call corporate again. It ain't gonna do you any good. Mr. Clueless, okay, you guys asked for it. So Mr. Clueless gets out of his car and starts walking towards us. At this point, I had no idea what he was going to do because he got his hands to his side like he's going to take all 5 of us at once. Then he stops and backs away. I didn't find out until later that Ringo was packing, he had a concealed carry permit, and had shown Mr. Clueless the gun. Mr. Clueless backed off at that point. Mr. Clueless is not apparently Mr. Completely Brain Dead. Mr. Clueless, you guys have to go inside sometime. I'm gonna wait here until you do. Great. That means this nutter is gonna keep the employees inside until the impossible happens. I pull out my phone. It's time to call the popo. Besides which, if this guy won't wear his driving glasses and can't see half a mile, he's a danger and needs to be removed. I dial 911. Dispatcher, 911 emergency, how can I direct your call? Me. We have a person here at the parking lot of store at location who's behaving dangerously. Could you have a cruiser swing by? Mr. Clueless, F this. Mr. Clueless gets in his car and drives off. Since he's leaving, I can tell the dispatcher this and have her cancel the police, but I do mention that he said he can't see and he might be a danger on the road. I give her the guy's description and his car's make and model and find out John's on the phone to the cops giving them the car's license plate as well, which I missed. Again, the manager thanks us for getting rid of the weirdo since he's potentially a threat to the employees. Technically, we are too, but the employees vouch for us, and he can't release everyone out of the store until guys like him have cleared out. I swear, I should form a social club with these guys. Mr. Clueless, no more. So, did we see the return of Mr. Clueless tonight? Yes, but unfortunately it's going to be somewhat disappointing. The evening pickup social club had formed once again, and this time we were joined by Steve and Mary, picking up their respective people. In fact, we had quite the crowd there that night. Almost a regular party, but under the lamppost it was just me, the Beatles, Steve, and Mary. I'd like to say that we were speaking about Mr. Clueless, and lo and behold, he showed up. But we hadn't even gotten around to talking about him yet. When he showed up, driving into the lot, I recognized his car and said, "Hey guys, he's back." Mr. Clueless drove slowly past us, glaring at us, then rolled down his window and yelled out, "You mother huggers are all a-holes." Then he drove off. I watched him drive away, and he turned onto the main road, went down 6 blocks, and turned into competitor store's parking lot. Guess you can teach an old dog new tricks. And our second story for today. The old talk to my manager switcheroo. Anyway, I'm walking through Walmart wearing a plain black tee and some tight jeans when I hear a man shout, "Excuse me," through the music in my headphones. Deftones, if that's of interest to anyone. I know I'm not blocking anyone's road and I'm not being rude or offensive, so I figure I'll check and see what this guy needs. My parents always said that it's rude to ignore someone without a good reason to. Where do I find the... I cut him off quickly because I don't want him to feel more embarrassed than he might need to, and because it's clearly a simple misunderstanding. I'm sorry, I don't work it. Before I can finish, his eyes seem to glaze over and roll back into his head. He folds his arms like he's now impatient and bursts forth into the biggest and funniest rant of its type that I've ever experienced. "Oh, what? You're on your break? You're off the clock? Which is it? People in this country used to do the right thing, even if it meant going out of their way, back when our communities were close and we didn't have selfish, lazy types mucking things up." Again, I'm an immigrant, and you can generally tell when that's about to become the focus of an interaction. That train is never late. "So here you are taking the honest job that a real American could do, and the pathetic part is you're not even interested in doing that properly." That stung a bit. But this guy was comically furious. His chubby neck made him look like a bullfrog, and his terrible short-sleeved shirt looked like the wallpaper of some tacky 1960s home. I blinked twice until I realized he was waiting for a response. "My apologies, sir. Would you like to talk to the manager? I'm sure he would be more than happy to hear your feedback and reassure you that this store does indeed value your business, despite this obvious lapse in customer service." It took all I could not to laugh as I watched the air of importance being sucked out of him from such a professional response. Not willing to let himself be shown up, he bumbled a reply that eventually became a clear and strong, "That's exactly what I want. You see, you're about to find yourself in hot water." So suddenly, we, looking like Arnie and DeVito in Twins, he's just as funny looking, but I'm a lot more brown than Arnie is, we're walking through the store to where we can find a manager. I let him fluster his demands for an audience to the poor girl behind the counter, and we wait. Him muttering to anyone that'll listen that he's about to make an example out of me. Sean, the poor manager, has arrived, and he's almost finished asking, "Sir, is there something I can help you with?" when Bullfrog DeVito shoves a finger in my face and grumbles, "Your employee thinks his time is more important than the time of your paying. I repeat, paying customers. Do you think this is acceptable?" I've got a smirk on my face already because I can see the real staff know I'm not one of them. I'm not an employee. I don't work for this big brand store. I work at a pizza joint. They know this. Poor Sean has turned to look at my face and has realized he knows this. But Bullfrog DeVito doesn't. Sir, I really wish to apologize, but Sean got cut off again. Poor guy. Oh, so now you're going to tell me that you approve of this bullcrap? What happened to valuing the customer? What happened to this country's values? I suppose if this is the sort of person you hire, no wonder this country is... I really don't expect managers of big chain stores to be heroes. Sean, however, found his voice and cut this guy off in such a way that it was like Bullfrog DeVito had never been silenced mid-sentence himself before. That's enough! Sean's standing pretty tall, and everyone within earshot and sight of the scene are glued to us, mouths open. I understand that you're in need of help, and we have plenty of staff available here who will do just that. However, I will not tolerate you abusing other shoppers and fellow Americans. That's right, I said fellow Americans for going about their business. Do you understand? My turn to stand there with my mouth open. My goodness, Sean the manager, you have blown me away. Bullfrog DeVito looks like his crap is breaking in every possible way in his head. His neck is going bright red, and it's like that thermometer's going up his cheeks and the rest of his face. It's effing glorious. I think an apology is in order, and if you're not going to be good enough to do it yourself, I'll do it on your behalf. Hell, the sting in that phrase closed both mine and the shell-shocked man's mouths. Sean, with the most heartfelt sincerity and look of complete disbelief in his face, turns to me and says, I'm sorry that you've had to experience this in our store. I had barely a second to appreciate that when Bullfrog DeVito turned tail and began his march of shame out the doors. I couldn't help getting a jab in before he got too far. Being fat and short meant I probably could have shaken Sean's hand and finished my shopping before he made it back to his car. Sorry I don't work here, but I'd be more than happy to help you find where they keep the humility around here. The smirk that Sean had to stifle was exactly what I'd hoped to repay him with, as well as a quick thank you and a shake of his hand. Sean probably won't read this, and I'm not going to give away the location because that'd be unfair, but as a foreign-born American, thank you to all those employees out there who stand against their customers in defense of others. It's a tough thing to do, even for a manager, but when it happens, you can bet the person you're standing up for appreciates it more than you know. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.